God says in Parshas Lech Lecha to Avraham, I will be a Magen Lecha. We say in the end of the first bracha of the Shemon Esrei, Magen, Brachata Hashem Magen Avraham. This is really, call it Torah Echad. It's kind of a bit of a continuation, the ideas of we were saying last week. I didn't really, I need to really have a script. Didn't really make the point clear before the flood. People were in Nekudim where they were caring nothing about the people, everybody else. My needs are trump everything. Your stuff, your so Hamas, the theft, they were taking the women because they don't care about their family, they don't care about their lives. There was murder. Who was in the level of Nekudim. So then the world was destroyed, or it destroyed itself. And so then afterwards, the Dora Flog, when they were trying to build the bubble, they went to the other extreme of Akudim, of communism. Everything's echod. Which again was saying, but that's really the connection. On a deeper level, they were trying to use God's names in order to get shefa from a good side, but without actually doing the avoda. So while you're doing avodah zara, you can get the shefa, but it's from the sitra achra, it's from the non-kedusha type of shefa. But they wanted the toiv shefa, the good shefa, without doing the avoda, so they can do that with shemos, with everything being one. So by binding everybody up with the one, the achdos would create a rachamim from Shemayim, and even though their deeds were not worthy, the achdos would be enough to get that, and that's why Hashem wanted to mabal anyway. So Avraham was an extreme. So again, we had the idea that Avraham was chesed in Nekudim. The chesed itself is in Nekudim. It's that there's no gevura shebechesed. It's all just chesed. It's chesed of chesed, and there's nothing else. Yitzchak was Nekudim, and then Yitzchak was Tiferes, which was Brudim, which was encompassing. Now, extremity works for like chesed. The extreme chesed worked for Avraham. Extreme gevurah worked for Yitzchak. However, it doesn't work for other people. So the offspring of Avraham was Yishmael, and the offspring of Yitzchak was Esav. And that, whereas the Yaakov was not extreme, it was encompassing, and therefore none of his children were apostle. So again, you have it in there's in sects of Judaism. So let's say you have should Jews go to the army? So some people will be, well, if this is not bad, and some people it's completely also, and they'll be let's say extreme. In Israel, they had people then by they had a certain rabbi was telling people to go protest army stuff, and they would just block up the roads by the entrance to Jerusalem, and so all these like Haredim who, as far as I know, didn't have a job. And they were just blocking up all the roads so that people who were working couldn't get home. And this was supposed to somehow show their, change the army draft or something. So this I would put it in the box of extreme behavior, where and there's no tolerance of anything except for my way. So that may be fine for certain people, and a lot of people can actually be taken in by it usually what happens, let's say you have the leader, the rabbi, or the starter of it, let's call him an Avraham or a rabbi, and then that's fine for him. And people can be swept up by it, and the extreme really appeals to them, and they become exclusive in their ideas to the exclusion of all else. But for the Talmud, it doesn't work. It works in a short period of time, but then later, everything crashes down, and they just, let's say, they go off the derech. There's many stories where this happens when people join this more, let's say, those who are more central, we'll call them cults. When you have the more cultish parts of society and religion. So people get taken in, but then they just are completely against it later. They go through phases of it, but there's a certain rejection of it at the end. But the people who started, the people who be themselves are the extremes. They don't get tired of it because it works for them. It just doesn't work for other people. However, in a balanced act. So therefore, since there's room for everybody, therefore everybody can succeed. Avraham says, when God says to Avraham, you'll have a son from Sarah, Avraham says, Lo Yishmol Yechia, that Yishmol should, the simple pshat would be is that Yishmol is enough, or don't take anything away from Yishmol, and that even though Avraham knows the essence of the Yishmael, since Avraham is chesed shebechesed, there is no bound to the chesed, and therefore, even though Yishmael is not worthy and not deserving, he should get chesed anyway. So don't take anything away from Yishmael, even though you're going to give me a son and he'll be more roy. Then the Abraham's midas chesed doesn't differentiate, and therefore, no matter what you're going to give to the tzaddik, you should be given to the rasha. And that there's no, the chesed just blind, it's blind chesed, the idea of blind, the metaphor of blind, is there's no difference between anything. That's exactly the midah of Avraham. There's I'm not sure the source, maybe the Zohar, it says that Avraham had to go back to the same inns that he went when he was going on his way to Mitzrayim at the beginning of Parshas Lech Lecha. On his way back, he went to the same places. Rashi says you shouldn't change it from the Gemara, that you shouldn't change where you stay, and again that doesn't apply today. That was then when you'll see the person changing what hotel he stayed at. He will say, oh, the other hotel must be bad, and since Mistalman, that doesn't apply today. That first thing, people don't know what, because there's so many hotels, people don't know who stayed where. And if you stayed at the Citadel one time and then at the Grand Plaza the next, you probably say, oh, there must have been room at the Citadel, but you really wanted to stay there anyway. But anyway, so that doesn't apply over, but there's a concept of staying there and showing that it's not even just changing your where you stay, and have the appearance of can do damage to that business. But anyway, so the pshat is that when Avraham was on his way to Mitzrayim, he was doing chesed with money he didn't have, because it wasn't about an idea of moistrus. Moistrus is basically I take care of myself, and then whatever's left over, then I do chesed with that. So if you do tzedakah is what I have left. It's not I am a baal tzedakah. I am tzedakah, and that whatever the problem is, I'll take care of it, whether I can afford it or not. It's a moistrus is, well, whatever I have left over after taking care of myself, then I'm happy to do tzedakah with. So Avram was the meaning. He was not moishus with chesed. He was a baal chesed, and therefore the chesed that had to be done, even though he didn't have money. So he's borrowing money on his way down to Mitzrayim in order to do the chesed. Therefore, on his way back, he went back to the same places to pay off all his debts. So Abraham's midas chesed is unbound. Now the problem with the chesed being unbound is that or one of the problems is that in order to reach Mashiach, so then Ra has to go. But in the Midas of Chesed of Avraham, Ra constantly gets it's a supply. It constantly gets its shefa from a shemaim. Unika is the suckling. This is that so everything holy is kodesh, and everything that's not holy is a sitra acher or a klipa. So, for example, some wool is klipa, because wool, it can be klipa noige, which means very light klipa, because wool is not a mitzvah. You can make tzitzis out of wool, so then you can turn the klipa into kodesh. But anything that's not kodesh is a klipa, and obviously some klipa is less kodesh than others. But all klipa has to have its existence. So in Chesed, in Abraham's Chesed, all klipa gets its unika, gets its sustenance, and therefore continues on. Whereas in the time of Mashiach, the klipa has to end, or at least the harsh klipa that blocks, and Ra that blocks Hashem has to end. So in the Chesed of Avraham, you can never reach the level of Mashiach. So therefore, there has to be a filter put on this Chesed, and that's the Iker. What Magen Avraham is that there's a filter put on Abraham's Chesed in order for the Jewish people to continue. Because again, if you stay in the Midas Chesed of Abraham, then Yishmael will be given its place. And so the Magen Avraham is to curb, so to speak, the chesed. It's also really mira of a tzimtzum. Tzimtzum is a restricting. So, for example, God as his echad, we can't exist, because I can't be an I if we're all one, and it's just God. So therefore, the word I can't exist. So God needs to restrict himself in order to allow other beings to exist. So too, you're restricting, like putting a filter on the power of Abraham's Chesed, the Magen Avraham. Now, Chesed, in a sense, is liberalism. Do whatever you want to do. Everything's great. Just keep on doing it. Gevura is conservatism, where there's rules, and we don't do that type of thing here. You should curb your activities. And I think interestingly, I heard a quote, or someone said something. Said it used to be, this was years ago, so already it's much worse now. Said it used to be that some Democrats have some opinions to the right of some Republicans, and some Republicans have some opinions to the left of some Democrats. However, today, all the Democrats are on the left and all the Republicans are on the right. So you have this basic shift from really a world of Berudim into a world of Nekudim. And where there was, politically, there wasn't such fighting as we have today, where because everything is so polarized, and it's not that either Trump is the best or he's the worst. It's not. It can't be. Nobody has the opinion that Trump has done some great things and he's done some bad things. No one has that opinion. It's completely polarized. Either he's just the devil incarnate, or he's the God incarnate, whatever the antonym is. So that's entering into the world of Nekudim and going on to the extremes. Now, as we said, that Avraham gives Unika to a Yishmael. That's what that Chesed in the world of Nekudim is doing, is giving Unika to a Yishmael. So you'll see that in the liberal, it's really, I don't know if bizarre is the right word, but you'll see in the liberal circles that they are the ones that are the biggest Palestine followers. and all this BDS stuff and all this going on, it's coming from the liberal circles, and they're really pro Palestine and anti-Israel and all this stuff. And that's really the koyach of the Yishmael, that is getting its unique from the Nekudim of Chesed. And that 50 years ago, people were more, friends of Israel and against this terrorism and Palestinian stuff, because they were in the rule of Brudim, where everyone was in the middle, and it wasn't I hate you because you think differently to me, which really is the idea of Nekudim, which is the Shavar Sekalim. You can't continue. Anytime someone thinks different from me, I have to kill them, basically. And you have all these death threats to all these Democrats. I don't know why they call Democrats. Are on Twitter saying, posting death threats for all these, anything you do, you deserve to die for it, because it's not what I think. It's not in my opinion. It's not my. It's not what I believe in. And that's really that is the world of Tohu and the world of Shavar Sekalim, and it's just going to come into a now the other side is Gevura, and Gevura in Nekudim gives rise to Esav, and Bechar B'chad that you'll live and die by the sword. And on the right, when you have again, and then in Europe, where there's a lurch to the right, so then you have all the neo-Nazi groups that are rising to power across Europe, and get rid of this and get rid of that. And that the Nekudim of Gevura is feeding the Esav. And we're living in this time where the world basically shifted from a Tiferes, if it ever really got there, into a Gevura and a Chesed Oilam. And seemingly the more that the Chesed becomes Chesed, the more the Gevura becomes Gevura, and there's no there's no way back. And how does this game play out? I don't know. I mean, really I guess it all kind of explodes in a Shavar Sekalim, and then it results in a real Tiferes. But I guess we'll find out.